Welcome back to the second half of the Trade with Africa Business Summit 2020, the virtual edition. We're moving to the second half of today's event. And our next speaker is an amazing connector. And I'm just so much looking forward to the information she's bringing us today. Ms. Rabia Alama is the Managing Director of the American Chamber of Commerce in Morocco, and today she'll be sharing with us trade and investment opportunities in Morocco. Rabia, you have the floor. Let me just make sure you have everything you need. We've had some. Yes.
Wonderful.
Welcome all the way from Morocco.
Morocco, yes. So I want to welcome everyone to Casablanca, Morocco. And I want to thank you heartily for for including me in this conference today. And also, it's a pleasure to join the Nazaro trade and investment community. So I think you're doing an amazing job to connect, business people and connecting America and Africa. And hopefully, we can do business all together. So, I mean, I have just like few, comments to share about, Morocco and Africa, and also all these wonderful, initiatives that we could, start like, concretize, like working on soon, between our community. So when you spoke about Africa, I will always say that this is a huge continent with untapped opportunities. Everyone knows that Africa is about 1.3 billion population, about 600, middle class, and a GDP almost like $2 trillion US. But when you talk about the continent as huge as Africa, one has to, know exactly how you enter Africa. And that's why we always recommend to our, US companies, to choose a segment. Like, if you want to make Africa accessible, you have to choose your segment and your gateways and door of entry to this, to these huge markets. So basically, if you want to sum up Africa, it's 5 segments, the Northwest Africa region, and where Morocco is located, the East-West Africa, Central Africa, Southeast Africa, and Southwest Africa. So today, my role is to introduce Morocco as a gateway, at least for this big segment, which is Northwest Africa. So as you all know, Morocco is located in Northwest Africa, and it's only 9 miles from Spain. So you can literally, visit Spain and Morocco in one day. And this is why a lot of US companies have chosen the north of Morocco, Tangier, and the free zone of Tangiers to set headquarters and to, export to proximity markets. And I was listening to our colleague from PricewaterhouseCoopers. So he mentioned a few US companies that were successful and others that were not successful. But the ones I see in Morocco, they've done the best choice because their KPIs are as good as the ones in European countries. So take the example of Lear Automotive. Lear is a US company that has 10 manufacturing plants in Morocco now. They started with literally 160 employees. Today, Lear employs 18,000 workers in Morocco. And they export their products, all what you see inside the car, to Europe in 24 hours, using Morocco as a hub, as a gateway to Europe. So, those who want to work with Africa, they need to choose their gateway. They need to choose their, the platform that will facilitate their business, and they will help them, have the best KPIs as comparable to any other, subsidiary in Europe and other. So when companies come to Morocco, they come for a comparative advantage. They don't come to see a beautiful country or a sunny Marrakesh. And by the way, Marrakesh is one of the top 10 cities to visit in the world, you know. So I invite everyone to come and visit this beautiful touristic city. So as I said, they come for a comparative advantage, means there is this proximity to markets from Europe, African countries, Middle East, and the US, because Morocco is 3,000 kilometers, you know, of sea, Mediterranean and Atlantic. We have access to New York in 7 days. We have direct maritime line to Savannah in about 10 days. And, you know, we have several free trade agreements. And so Morocco enjoys an advance agreement with Europe. We have like among the only few free trade agreement with the US. We also signed a free trade agreement with Turkey, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia, and Emirates. And recently, as you all know, Morocco rejoined the Africa Union and signed the Continental Free Trade Area, you know, agreement. So this, you know, free trade, proximity, plus a young population, you know, Morocco is about 36 million inhabitants, and 65% of these inhabitants are under 30 years. So it's a young, very well educated population. They speak at least 2-3 languages. So by the way, Morocco speak, you know, 2 languages like daily, Arabic and Amazigh, but the daily language, you know, for professional is French, Spanish in the north, and all these young generation, they master English as well. So this is the comparative advantage that Morocco is offering. In addition, Morocco has improved its ranking in doing business. Today, Morocco is about 60, you know, ranked 60 out of 170 countries. And Morocco has made several reforms, including, you know, amending investment laws like the investment charter, opening all the sectors for 100% ownership, whereas in several countries, you have to have a local partner, you know, the 49-51 rule. In Morocco, you can have 100% ownership. You can also transfer all the capital when you decide to exit the country, and you have all the investment, you know, disputes resolution mechanism, including arbitration, mediation, and you name it. So in terms of reform, Morocco has undertaken, you know, the maximum reform, because when you sign free trade agreements with the US and Europe, you have to have your laws compatible. You have to have reforms. And this is what happened over the 20, you know, the 2 decades where we have this, you know, all these free trade agreements signed. Morocco has really put the emphasis on reforms at all fronts, you know, investment laws, you know, labor law, IPR protection law, and other. So I think overall, the business climate here is very friendly. And, you know, you can still access, you know, opportunities. You have a lot of, you know, European companies. You know, France is like the #1 investor in the country. Spanish companies, Belgian, but also we have like about 150 US company in major sector, as I mentioned earlier, automotive, you know, aeronautics, pharmaceuticals, franchising is extremely developed here, education, you know, technology, ITC. So, I mean, and there are more opportunities, you know, for those who want to come and explore. We can be I would say, your partner in Morocco. We can help you find the real partner We can help you navigate the system, the roadmap of investor. And by the way, also Morocco has set what we call the one-stop shops. Means you can literally open a business in 48 hours. And you don't need always to go through the big corporation like big CPAs. You can do it yourself, and it's only like 48 hours. Opportunities, plenty from, I will say, agribusiness, especially transformation, water and water sector, desalination, equipment, precision equipment, packaging, technology, smart technology in agribusiness and agriculture, in manufacturing, there is room available in all sectors, especially automobile and aeronautics, in education, named digital education, all the e-learning platforms, in franchising, bring the best concepts and join the community here, healthcare, telemedicine, plenty of opportunities. So I want to, I shared some slides, feel free to share them with the participants. But I mean, I prefer one-on-one, if we can really answer some questions and even tough questions. I mean, because I'm sure at this stage, I always say information is abundant on countries. You can find everything now on internet. But what we need to do as a community from Africa and working with the US is, as I mentioned earlier, how to build trust so we can do business. How, to get rid of stereotypes and all these negative, ideas about the continents and about the diaspora and about, these countries, so we can advance. And so today, I mean, let's, answer tough questions and, as I said, stereotypes, so we can make things clear and build that trust that will help us advance together. Because it's easy today, to connect people if you build that trust. I can easily work with you, to help you promote your cosmetic brands in my country. And you can do the same in Chicago for other. And this is the aim. I mean, if we come up out of this conference with few success stories, that's the aim,
Yes, absolutely. And along the line, in terms, I was going to ask you this question just for me. So just like she said, if you have questions, drop it in the Q&A. But one of my own questions would be, because I do play in the skincare industry, integrating products from Africa and producing them and then branding them here in the US. So the question is, what can I source from Morocco? I know we talked briefly 2 days ago about Moroccan oil, not really Moroccan, but that's something in terms of export development, because a lot of the diaspora that also play in terms of more of the connecting the dots. Part of the question is, what should we be buying? What can we buy from Africa? Just understanding what that looks like for Morocco.
Absolutely. I mean, I wish we had like a common market of, commodity, especially, I mean, the one you have in Chicago. I mean, so you have McCormick, for the veggies. And so, I mean, I hope we had that market in Africa where you have all the ingredients, traded in a market, in a single market with the rate every day and aggregation of imports and exports and people buying together and stuff like that. But I mean, Morocco is a treasure to several raw materials, especially in the cosmetic industry. You mentioned the argan oil. I mean, this is the only, I would say, country in the world that that produces argan oil, because the tree is endemic, is only available here and only live, better and give the best fruit in this country. And so Morocco is like among the best, producer. I'm sure you'll find some countries who try in the tree, but this is the best hub for cosmetic, for argan oil. You can find all kind of, other raw materials, including, clay, rasool, You can find, you know, the olive oil also that's, you know, commonly used both in culinary and also in cosmetics. You know, all kind of aloe vera that you can also grow here. And by the way, we have some American companies in Morocco, you know, dealing with aloe vera, and they have huge projects. You know, instead of sourcing sometime from the US or overseas or China, they said, well, need to grow stuff here. And because we have plenty of land, you know, that only needs investment, you know, as you know, Africa and in Morocco, and you know, they're like 60% of the arable land is in this continent. So all we need in, you know, is investment in drip irrigation and in technology, precision technology. So these investments are productive enough to generate, you know, good yield for both investor and farmers. So, you know, you can have access to a lot of raw materials here, you know, especially for the cosmetic industry. And you have like several hubs, including Essaouira, Agadir in the south of Morocco. And, you know, by the way, I mean, the industry is doing good, but they could do better. I mean, we want to see champions like Clinique and L'Oreal coming from Morocco. It's not happening yet, but, you know, they're on the track. And hopefully with another, you know, boost from the US and from other investors, they could do better.
Right, right. I also see an opportunity where indigenous brands actually we could create market access in the US. So when you think about the skincare industry in the US, you think about the Korean brand,
right?
They actually made a name for themselves where in the US, Korean skincare is like lighting up, right? So I know that as Africans, we have our own remedies, whether medicinal, whether beauty, whether, you know, things that are native that we've been using for hundreds of years that the world knows nothing about. But I think the opportunity we have is how do we bring those brands and how do we tell our story and how do we own that supply chain? Because we usually play at the raw commodity mostly, but how do we not just do cocoa, but we do chocolate, not just do shea butter and argan, but we actually have branded items. So that's the entire retail supply chain that we also see an opportunity in. And I think Morocco you already have that name. It would be incredible to see how we can find, you know, brands that we can actually take global. So that's something that I think about when I think across the country, because your country is a prime. I mean, the beauty industry is mature. I know you have a lot of trade fair. I subscribe to some of them in terms of your beauty. Yes, I do.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yes. I'm telling you, nobody does beauty like Morocco that I know of. And then South Africa also, the skincare industry in South Africa is very good as well. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit. In your role at the American Chamber of Commerce, you deal a lot with trade facilitation. And one of the things I try to tell people, particularly the diaspora, that they have to upskill, they have to step up the game in terms of how they engage in trying to bring a buyer and a seller or an investor or having to bring them together to actually see a deal happen. So I don't know if you could just share a little bit, like what does it take to close a deal?
Well, look, I mean, our role, for example, I mean, we used to take delegation to the US, you know, exporters, for example. You cannot sell to the US if you do not go and see a trade show like the Fancy Food Show. You know, this is for food. You know, basically Morocco will exhibit olive oil and some other, you know, commodities for sale. But so you have to go and see what the other competition is doing. And this, we've been like taking a role in this, in connecting like exporters with the trade show, with the buyers in the US, and we'll do the vice versa too. For example, we work closely with the commercial service of Casablanca here at the US Consulate when they receive a trade mission from the US. Recently, we received a trade mission from Miami. It was a multi-sectoral, you know, for example, they had companies in the OTC. They have, you know, all the vitamins to be represented here in Morocco. They had, you know, fashion design, they have interior design companies. And so basically we connect them through B2B, you know, but they do their homework before coming. You cannot come to a market before you're doing like your homework on, you know, knowing the market, knowing how to find the best partner, and also using trade facilitation institution like ours and our partner, strategic partner, the US Commercial Service. So we work closely, almost daily, on connecting, you know, the US and Morocco. Today, as I mentioned, we have about 150 US company and several distributors of US brands. And even the number of franchises is growing in Morocco, from Starbucks to, you know, KFC, Pizza Hut, Domino's, you know, Guess, and name the franchises. So this is a joint effort where you connect the buyer, the seller, the franchisor, the franchisee, but everyone does his homework. Everyone does his part of the work, so we can identify the best partner. Because the day you identify a partner who's not credible, then the whole business collapses, and you end up, you know, producing failures instead of, you know, producing success stories. So it takes some joint effort of market research, field work, you know, and then connecting, B2B, networking. And today the world is amazing with all these virtual platforms where you can put, you know, all these beautiful information from training to market research to videos to networking in one platform, like the Nazaro trade, which I really want to, you know, keep promoting and keep, you know, talking about, because it could really produce amazing success stories.
Well, I really appreciate that, because the reason we actually build that is exactly what you described, because I think your country is well advanced in trade facilitation than other countries on the continent. And what I get a sense of in other parts of Africa is everybody wants trade, but they think it just happens. Trade doesn't just happen.
No, absolutely not.
just because you want it, or you wake up dreaming about it.
Right.
Like, and I loved when you said that you actually physically bring people to the market and you reverse it. One of the jokes I say is, and this it's funny, but it's not, is I say, if my event was called Trade with China Business Summit, do you know how many planes would fly from China?
Wow. Yes.
I say that to say, one of the challenges we have as a people is that what you just described, we've not grasped that what we truly want requires a lot of handshake and consistency and staying at it, and showing up, Because the first event we had, I lived in Bentonville. I used to work for Walmart. When I left, I was like, wow, I know what's going on with global market. I know everybody coming in and out, but I want my own, you know, I want Africans to be here and to showcase their products. And we had it there. But I also saw the challenges that we are not used to. We expect the buyers to come to Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It doesn't. But so I'm glad you said that's where that question was coming from. And I see some questions for you as well. Did you want to say something before I move to the questions?
Well, look, I mean, definitely, I mean, there is an enormous work, you know, both, as I said, of, you know, getting rid of stereotype, creating that trust between, you know, markets and Africa. You know, also African countries need to take charge and to put budget for marketing and promotion. How many country does promote itself on, you know, big channels? Or how many country like take, you know, consistently delegation to the US to promote, you know, their investment platform or their, you know, local industries. So I think there's a consistent, you know, I will say engagement and budget from these countries, you know, to help, you know, the industry and the exporters, and you know, to help them access new markets.
Fantastic. So I'll take one question now, and before we move on. So Dr. Femi Oshidele said, Rabia, great presentation. I know very little about Morocco.
Wow.
Except football.
Wow.
And he put a smile, so he's smiling at you. Then he says, so I will ask a question about my field, which is energy and natural resources. What are the primary energy sources in use for electricity, transportation, industry in Morocco?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's great that you know football. I mean, as I always say, you know, a country has to make itself known by something. You know, if it's not food, it's soccer. If it's not soccer, it's tourism. But I mean, it's easy. You know, it's, you know, if you know soccer, you know, you made my life easier, because I know these young Moroccan football players are so you know, motivated, and they always want to win and make Morocco, you know, on the rise and raise the flag. So, I mean, this is one of the characteristics of Moroccans in general. So they do a lot of effort because, you know, they always want to succeed. But in terms of energy, Morocco is not an energy producer. All we have, I mean, and this is maybe a pride for the country, is solar energy. Wow. So yes, so Morocco has among the first biggest station of solar energy in the world. And you can check it, you can Google it online. It's called Noor Ouarzazate. It's near Marrakesh. And Morocco is aiming to have a mix of, you know, renewable energy of at least 50% before 2025. And so this huge project, you know, of solar is gonna help Morocco reduce the cost of production by at least 20%, 25%. So, you know, all the energy today is put into solar and wind. And so please, you know, if you have time, Google, you know, Noor Ouarzazate, and you will see how huge. I mean, some people compare it to the one in Las Vegas, you know, the one owned by the US. Some people even say it's like #1, you know, station in the world. I know a lot of countries are building solar station, including Egypt and a few other countries, but Morocco is far well advanced in solar and renewable in general. So this is the #1 source of energy. In terms of, you know, transportation, Morocco is pretty well connected in terms of railway, roads, but we also, in the region, I think Morocco is the only country that has the fastest train that connects Tangier in the north to Casablanca in 2 hours. And this is almost like 1,000 kilometers. So yeah, and this is a huge project that was, you know, inaugurated just in 2019. So transportation is pretty well organized, from highway, railway, and you know, fast train. We also have a subway called here, not really the real subway, but tramway that uses electricity.
Wow.
So overall, the country is doing well in terms of, you know, alternative energy instead of like oil and gas, because we're not a producer of oil and gas, but we use a lot of solar and renewable and wind as well.
Wow, I just learned something new today.
Good, very good.
Yes, I see more questions. I'm going to take one more. I know because we had this glitch in the beginning, so I'll take one more. Cat Lego says, pertaining to digitization in the agriculture spectrum, how is Morocco playing a role in digitizing the agricultural field?
Yes, this is, the digitalization is a hot topic today, not only in Morocco, but I think in all over Africa. And the good news is Morocco is taking it seriously now. Like 3 years ago, they created a special agency called, the Digital Agency of Morocco. And so basically they will go through every field. The number one priority today for Morocco is all kind of e-services and e-government, which makes sense because, as soon as you go with e-government and e-services, you cut bureaucracy and you cut corruption and you cut delays and administrative, treatment. So this is, very, very, a very good priority on the agenda today. In terms of sectors and, technology, we have a lot of, agencies helping Morocco with, digitalizing the sectors, including USAID and other, countries, Germany and other. But the good news, we have some farms with several hectares, like from 8,000 to 10,000 hectares, using drones, and precision agriculture, to treat, like using pesticide and even in organic industry, a lot of precision agriculture, drip irrigation, very well automated. So I think the sector is, at least for the big farms, like the 8,000, the 10,000 hectares, they're really taking the thing seriously. Of course, it's not generalized for small farmers, but there are several local initiatives, mostly from startups, that they try like to help small farmers, use the technology, even though they're not, technology literate. But overall, the trend is here, and even the aid and the government are helping forwards. So the production and productivity is better.
Wow, incredible. You do have more questions, but I think this is what I'm going to try to do is all the open questions that we're asking here in Zoom, I think I would find a way to move them to the platform.
Sure.
Because I know usually when you come for Zoom and you hand the Zoom, everything goes away. But I'll see where we can shift some conversations. That way you can respond directly. And
Sure.
maybe the person is actually asking something in context of their own work, then we can take that conversation forward. I really want to thank you. This is only the beginning, and I look forward to more engagements. Again, you are a gatekeeper and you have the key to Morocco, and we are so happy for you to be on this platform.
Anytime. We wish the best to our African diaspora and to the African continent, because we want to see it flourish and prosper, because we want our youth to stay in the country instead of seeing them dying in the Mediterranean just to look for opportunities where the opportunities are here,
Right. So, and wow, that's the whole essence, is that I see a situation where with the population growth, we've got to put the youth workforce to work.
Absolutely.
Because if not, and it's our responsibility, nobody's going to do it for us. So thank you again, and
pleasure.
Look forward to more partnership. Thank you so much.
All the best. Have a good
afternoon.
You take care.
Thank you.